Hello. Right, I'll call this probably 5b in the Wealth and Valuation series. Thanks for the comments on 5. I've read through them thoroughly, and it's inspired me to go to 5b, which is kind of where I was going anyway, but the comments have kind of changed what 5b was going to be. And I'll just do 5b and see how we go. What we're going to have is a scenario. It's a made up thing. It's a complete imagination job. So you're going to have to bear with me if you would and use your imagination along with mine. So I'll paint a picture. Now, I must admit, this is the second time I've tried to do this video. And the first time I just got too confused because I got involved with the cities. Now, when it comes to what I'm going to project is a breakdown of society, I have no idea what could possibly happen in the cities of the world. I think it's getting on now for half the people in the entire world live in cities, and what's going to happen there, I have no idea. But to make this scenario, and it's just to help us with or help me to try and explain what I'm trying to talk about with wealth and valuation, I'm going to go to a Swiss valley or something like that. It's a Swiss valley. Now, it's happening in the future where there has been a breakdown. So what we had before the breakdown in this valley was a very well-to-do valley because the earth was quite good. There was plenty of sun, or enough sun for growing things, because it was up in a bit of a mountain. It was there was plenty of rain, and it was wealthy from that. But it also had something that other valleys didn't have. A very rich person that lived at the end of the valley in a huge mansion type chateau. Basically, the chateau had been there for tens of generations and been built on, and the owners had always been the rich kind of owner of the valley, and that's just the way it was. But it's slightly different. They were a bit cranky sort of family, and 4 or 5 generations ago, at the time of steam, the Duke, who he was there at the time, said that he did not want any of these steam engines on his land, and they would farm in a traditional way with I'll do a presentation. That's right, okay, I'll do a presentation. So I've already probably done a big chateau, and now I'll do some I don't know if I'll do the steam. I'll see what we go. The numbers will be there, as you can see, just making it up as I go along. So he said no steam engines, and through future generations, from what was the great-grandfather, grandfather, and father of what was or is the present Duke, also read the family contract to be no tractors either. So the land was always ploughed with big working horses, and that's just the way it always was. Yeah. But the last Duke, who is the Duke now, well, nobody knows where he is because he wasn't there in the chateau when the big trouble started, and he's never been seen since. But he didn't like the whole idea of not ploughing with tractors because he's rather interested in machinery and that sort of thing. So he got himself together the greatest collection of classic cars that was ever put together. And not only that, he didn't just keep them and look at them. He had, I won't be able to get a picture of this, roads all put round the estate, and people used to come in, and tourists, and they were driven round these roads in these classic cars, and obviously they paid for the privilege. And that all added to the wealth of the valley. Right, where should we go to now? Well, now we've got the troubles. And what we have now is the valley's basically being cut off. There's been no fuel into the valley for 6 months. All the fuel's run out, so there's certainly no car jollies for the tourists, and there are no tourists because it's just too dangerous even to get there, because there are now bandits in the hills. So that's all stopped, and all the chauffeur engineers of the cars have moved from their block in the grounds, and they've taken over the chateau, because the Duke never came back, and the cars are just lying useless. Some of them were driven away at the time when there was fuel, but they're just lying around useless now because there's no fuel for them. And the chateau is being ruined by these chauffeur engineer types, because they're just burning the furniture to keep themselves warm in the huge rooms, and pulling down priceless paintings and throwing them into the fires, and chopping up priceless furniture and throwing them into the fires to keep them warm. There are a few pieces left, but it'll soon all be gone. The rest of the land they're struggling with down at the village, because they've run out of fuel for their tractors, but they're pulling together and trying to farm their land, because it's not good land like the Duke's land, which hasn't been ruined by years of tractor type use with pesticides and all that sort of stuff. So it's not as good land, but they're scraping some sort of a living by digging it by hand, and they got through last winter all right. Now up at the estate is the old man who had run the estate for just over 50 years for the Duke, or at least worked the estate for 50 years for the Duke. He knows everything about the horses and how to plough and make fertile the land with those horses. Now, I went on a bit before in the first video, so that's just enough. That gives us an idea, because what I won't even go into what I'm trying to get at. Hopefully it's damn obvious. So now it's just like 5 again, but we've just got 5b. In the new circumstances, where does the wealth reside? There's the cash money that used to be used in the country that the valley found itself in hasn't been used for 2 years now. The engineers up at the chateau have found the safe and opened it, and they've divided the cash out between them, the bills, but they don't really think it's ever going to be any use to them, and they have started using it as for starting fires. They've found gold, and they've got the silver plate up at the chateau, which they suspect might be valuable soon, or at one time, if they can get over the valleys past the bandits to trade with some other valley. So that's that, but it's for the moment doing them no good, and they're really turning to banditry and stealing from the village and starting a bit of a mafia and trying to extort food out of the village, because obviously all the servants have returned to their houses in the village and that sort of thing. So I'll leave you with the pictures, the ones that I've put up. I don't know how many they're going to be, and if you would just again think where the wealth resides now, how your idea of wealth pertains to the wealth that is in this scenario, and does it hold, basically. And this is what I'm after, a definition of wealth that can hold through circumstances such as these. Leave it with you. Thanks very much. Bye.